Today's episode is brought to you by Handmade Rebellion. Are you a maker that does things a bit differently? Well, then welcome to the Handmade Rebellion. Proudly let the world know that you're a handmade rebel with modern apparel and accessories for sewers, quilters, knitters, and makers of all kinds. Use the code WalshyNaps on handmaderebellion.com to save 15% off your next order with free domestic shipping over $35. Join the rebellion. Thank you so much, Handmade Rebellion. And now, here's the show. Welcome to episode 108 of the Walshy Naps podcast. I'm Abby Glassenberg. I'm here in Houston, Texas at the George R. Brown Convention Center for Quilt Market 2017. And today we're talking about the state of the quilting industry. I have three guests, each of whom owns a quilt shop, and they're all joining me today. We have Janet Lutz, Karen Montgomery, and Kris Thurgood. Janet Lutz is the owner of Calico Gals, a quilt shop located in Syracuse, New York. Janet is also the founder of Row by Row Experience, a program which reaches over 3,000 quilt shops worldwide. Janet Lutz, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Karen Montgomery has owned The Quilt Company, a full-service brick-and-mortar quilt shop just outside Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, for 25 years. Industry insiders might know Karen from her savvy buying column published in Fab Shop News. Most recently, Karen has joined forces with Janet to create Symposium, a popular creative business retreat for shop owners. Karen Montgomery, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Kris Thurgood is the owner of My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop located in Logan, Utah. 2 years ago, she organized My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop as a franchise and is now opening a second location in Midway, Utah. Kris, along with her identical twin sister Kim, have been featured on national television shows, including The Rachel Ray Show and The Nate Berkus Show. They co-hosted a weekly craft and sewing web show called The DIY Dish for several years as well. Kris Thurgood, welcome.
Thanks.
So I'm excited to talk with all of you, and I want to start things off with you, Janet. You own Row by Row, which is a very popular program that all quilt shops can take part in. So first, tell us, how many brick and mortar quilt shops are there approximately in the United States, so we can kind of get a sense of the size of the industry.
Right. Everything that we have, and this is based on our numbers through Row by Row, our estimate is right around 3,500, which is an incredibly impressive number of brick and mortar independent stores.
And has that number changed over the time that you've been running this program, or over the time that you've sort of known about that statistic?
That number fluctuates. And every year we see stores closing for a variety of different reasons. And yet every year we also see stores opening for a variety of different reasons. I think the important thing to note here is that brick and mortar is alive and well, and even the large size internet companies are now opening brick and mortar stores because they know the importance of that.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit then, maybe from all three of you, about the elements that do make a shop succeed. So you're saying that shops that are brick and mortar shops are still successful and new ones are opening all the time. And so what are the qualities of a brick and mortar quilt shop that makes that shop a successful one that is thriving? So we'll start with you, Karen.
Well, obviously, selection. My key is education. I believe a brick and mortar quilt shop has the opportunity to educate their customers in a much different way than the internet or any place else can. It's more of a hands-on help that you can give them. So I think you have to have the education and the background so that you have the answers to the questions when they come in.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd agree with that. I think really for the brick and mortar store to survive, it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of effort to, invite people into your doors. Gone are the days that you could just have your door open and think that people were going to just come on in. It does take a lot of effort, but it's worth the effort if you can provide a good experience for your customer. Experience as far as education, like Karen talked about, being able to have really great classes for your students to choose from, a variety of things for them to choose from, great demonstrations in the shop, an opportunity to welcome everyone, whether they've been quilting for years or if they're brand new, young or old. You need to be able to welcome everyone.
I think it's interesting that if you ask a lot of shop owners what sets their shop apart from others, they will usually answer with the words customer service. And yet when we look at that, neither one of these two women said customer service when they talked about it as one of the important things. More important than customer service is actually passion. And passionate employees are the key to that. Every person that talks to the customer that walks in your store has to be passionate about what they're doing. They have to be passionate about the business that they work for. So I think a key piece is hiring the right people to work in your store.
All right, let's turn a little bit to manufacturers, specifically talking about fabric manufacturers and how they do business with quilt shops currently. So I know you work with lots of different manufacturers, and how would you just describe overall your relationship with fabric manufacturers? Would you say it's collaborative? Would you describe it as sometimes aggravating, or what? How would you characterize it?
Yes.
I know. I was going to say, you say all of the above,
All of the
right?
above. So collaborative and aggravating.
Well, it depends on, what you put into that relationship as well. It could be a very, just a wonderful relationship, depending on, how open you are to what they have and they are to you, and they're listening to you. If they're listening to you as a customer, because ultimately we are their customer, then it can be a very good relationship of being able to, just to understand where they're coming from and vice versa. But yeah, it can, and sometimes it can be aggravating, but really, ultimately, it can be very positive, relationship to move your business forward.
I think it's easy to have an excellent relationship with our vendors, but I do think that there's a bend in the industry right now that they tend to pay more attention to social media people than they do to shop owners. We're in front of our customers every single day. We know what our customers are asking for. We know what we can sell. So I feel like we're a better resource for certain things than people with blogs or the hot new designer. I always have I always say to new designers, and that's not by age, but that's people that are new to the fabric industry. They all tend to design on computers, and so we see a lot of one-way designs. They don't sew. They're artists. So they don't cut it up and put it together with other things.
It's very directional.
Yeah, so we see a lot of directional fabrics, or we see a lot of prints that once you've cut them up, you can't tell them apart. So I always say, would you please hire a quilter to look at these before you make those final decisions? Somebody needs to take a look at them and choose what is going to work in the final projects rather than what looks good just on a strike-off.
Mm-hmm. I think that's so true. The companies that I work with best are companies that really are connected to the quilt shops and to the end consumer.
Right.
And that's where we really like to focus our business. Of course, that relationship, that personal relationship is important too. But those that really get what we're doing are the ones that we're looking to work with.
Mm-hmm. And when you said earlier around they're sort of focused on bloggers or on people with big social media presences, do you mean that they're selecting those designers based on their sort of marketing partnership opportunities, meaning they have a large following and they think that will help to sell the fabric, or do you mean something different from that?
I think so, definitely.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
That can be good. Yes. That's not necessarily totally bad.
Oh, it could definitely be part of the marketing package.
It should be.
It should be
yes.
Part of the marketing package, but it shouldn't necessarily be the deciding factor, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. And so let's talk a little bit about fabric manufacturers when it comes to small businesses who want to begin wholesaling. So I'm thinking about Etsy shops, for example, who want to open a wholesale account and start buying fabric wholesale, or even, these sort of underground kind of Facebook group kind of shops that aren't really shops, but so the bar to, I was surprised when I did the research to find out that the bar to setting up a wholesale account with a fabric manufacturer is actually quite low. You
Yes.
essentially need a home address, an address, which can be a home address, let's say that. You need a URL, which really can be an Etsy shop, which you can set up in just a moment with no money down. And you need about $1,000. And really, it sometimes is less than that, sometimes it's a little bit more, but
Right.
basically that's the upfront cost. And that's pretty low bar, really, to get started as a fabric store.
I think it needs to be higher. I really do. If just anyone can purchase for such a low entry, then you really devalue your product, because then it just anybody and everybody can sell it, and I think it devalues the product personally.
We've always, things have evolved in the almost 25 years we've had our store, but we've always had a policy where if you have that kind of an Etsy shop, you can buy from me, and we give them a discount. It's not wholesale, but it's a discount on their thing. But they have to have a sales tax license. They have to have and even if they're making things that they're selling at craft shows, used to be the big thing to do. If you have a resale license, I can be your supplier. I do appreciate that several of our distributors have raised their limit, and you have to, not only do you have to meet that more strict minimum, but you have to maintain it year after year to keep the account open, or they'll close your account. It can't be a one and done kind of a thing. But I do think those minimums need to be higher. Nobody can open a store,
$1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then when you're talking about, if you had $50,000 to open your store and you had to spread it amongst all of the manufacturers, you'd have to narrow your focus to be able to hit higher minimums with a lot of people if you established it as in the thousands.
So there's a balance there between sort of raising the bar high enough so that you're only really welcoming in kind of legitimate concerns in some way, but at the same time, sort of not discouraging entrepreneurship and getting, people who may not have the funds to sink in so much at the start, but are driven and really want to make this work and need a break.
Right.
And I think the real answer to all this is what you touched on, Karen. It's what's going to happen in the long term. So maybe they are just starting out and they need that break. And that was all of us at one point. And we didn't maybe have a lot of money to put into this, and we had to sink our life savings into it, and it was a low minimum. But then where does it go from there? And so the manufacturers that say, yes, okay, you need this minimum, but we need this every year. It's not just your one-time thing. They have to show some longevity here too.
Should there be a rule where you can't sell below, suggested retail price for a period of time, like 90 days or no?
I have trouble with that. I mean, price fixing is always
you wouldn't
an
be
issue.
able to do that. You wouldn't be able to do that.
No. I mean, that's it'd
be nice.
It would be nice, but I mean, that's just going to be survival of the fittest. If you're going to sell below a price, you're not going to make money, and so you're not going to be a savvy business person.
Over time, it's going to fall off.
Exactly.
Okay. And let's talk, I know maybe 2 years ago, maybe a little longer, sort of the buzz was about mass drop. There was a lot of concern about mass drop. Everybody was worried about them. And for people who aren't familiar with what mass drop is, it's basically a group buying site where they're going to go in at sort of wholesale prices and buy a whole lot of something that a group all agrees that they want, and then divvy it up among them. And I feel like over time maybe that's become mass drop, sort of the threat has reduced, perhaps. Maybe I'm wrong. So just talk a little bit about your impression.
I never hear about it anymore. I really don't.
either.
So if that did become a buying trend, and if everyone's doing it, I'm really out of the loop because I don't hear
about it anymore either. But that all of the online, the big internet retailers in the fabric and that, we belong to the same industry. We're just different fingers of the same on that same hand. They do what they do, and they do it well, and that's fine. But I do what I do, and I do it pretty well as well. And there's a lot of customers out there, and they need different things.
Right.
There are things that they can provide. If you want to shop at midnight or 2 a.m. in your pajamas, then I'm glad they're there, because I don't have that kind of an internet presence. But if you need help and you need someone to come in, I'm that person. So if you want to take a class in person and you want me to be able to answer your questions and things like that, then I'm the go-to person. If you want to be able to touch and feel, and we're in a very touch and feely industry, I have that. They'll never match that.
Exactly. And you have to think about it as, the mass drop or some others that might be out there. It's one item. It's one item at a time. It's not your everything that you have to offer. So you really have to think about, you know what, I'm going to play my own game, and I'm going to do the very best I know how to do, because if I focus on all those other things that are, the things that are out of my control, that I cannot control, then I'm not focusing on my own business and being able to help my business succeed. We can always look at everything around us and go, oh, but there's no way I can compete against this or that. Well, you know what? It's just the way it is. I mean, there's not a whole lot we can do about that. So my whole focus has always been, you know what? I'm going to play my own game, and I'm going to do what I have control over, and that is my own business.
I've always been inspired by Kris because she always says, stay in your own lane.
Yeah.
Stay in your own lane. That's right.
That's great advice for any business, no matter what business you own.
Just focus on what you can.
Right. And what about fabric.com? Thoughts about fabric.com? Same deal that we just spoke about.
Same kind of thing, it's
whatever.
You do what you can.
What I understand is really, and I'm sure we'll probably talk about this a little bit, but it's hard to make money just being an online store too.
Yeah.
I touched on that a little bit when I said that the big internet stores are being forced to open brick and mortar stores to really serve the customers in that way. So it works both ways. We're their competition too.
The truth is, would we like to put a lot of restrictions on them? Sure, we would. But then, that means they should be allowed to put a lot of restrictions on us, and I don't want that to happen. So turnabout's fair play. It's like,
So the three of you are here at Quilt Market, and how many staff members did each of you bring with you?
I brought, of course, for row by row experience, I have more staff members, but for my store, I have one staff member. My store manager is here with me shopping for my store.
Yeah, one for me.
absolutely none for me. It's just me.
Okay. And how much would you say, if you had to give an estimate of how much it's costing your shop to be here for the weekend, as far as just the money is concerned? How much does it cost to get here and do this?
You're talking about travel and...
Yeah, just give me an estimate of how much it costs to do this.
We were just figuring that out just before your podcast, and I was trying to think. And for me, I looked at the hotel and the airfare coming from the other side of the country, and added up, the salary of the employee and all those kinds of things. It's really $2,000. It really, when I start getting it there, it could be a little less depending on where market is, but it does add up. So you got to think about that.
It definitely adds up. Yeah.
It's a good $1,500.
Yeah.
So that's just for one person.
Just for one person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So second person showing the room, and
But
the
it's
flights and
worth it.
meals. And
I would
absolutely. We're all here,
It's
right?
worth it.
Mm-hmm. And do you come to every market? Do you always
Yes.
come fall and spring?
Every
Yes,
market.
Yes.
Every market. So all three of you come to every market, fall and
absolutely.
spring. And so what motivates you? Why is it worth the, let's say, $2,000 that it costs to do this? Like you're all nodding that, you wouldn't miss it. So what are the qualities
Well, the
that
truth
you
is, we're
wouldn't miss?
sitting with two of them.
Like friends and colleagues.
It's the networking that happens.
That's on my list.
Absolutely. That's the networking.
It's the networking that happens between, I always say, I learn more in the line to the ladies' room or in the shuttle on the way to the airport or whatever than I generally do at market. Schoolhouse is great for getting information and stuff like that, but it's the time that we spend saying what's selling in your store, what are you doing? Here's my problem. How can you help me solve this? That's,
Or even what did you see? We all can't walk
What
the
did
show
you
and
see?
see it the
Right.
same way.
Yes.
So that's usually the first thing we say to each other. Would you see good today? Did you
Right.
see anything new? Did you see anything different? So
So if you have 10 friends, it's like having another 10 sets of eyes on the floor that help you track that down.
But, I think it's also important that your customers know that you have made a commitment to them, that I am going to go to this trade show and this is to benefit you as well. So when I come back, look at all these great things that I'm going to be able to share with you and the things I've learned. And I think our customers can appreciate that we do make that bit of a sacrifice to be able to find out what is on the cutting edge of the quilt industry. And as it's important for us to always be learning and to never be satisfied with the status quo and say, oh, well, I think I've been a shop owner for this many years, so I know everything there is to need to know about it. Karen was saying this morning in your class, you've been to 52 Quilt Markets now. I mean, that's crazy.
It is crazy.
It's kind of crazy. She, of anyone, could sit here and say, I know everything that there's to need to know. No, it's like I've attended your classes before at past Quilt Markets, and I still attend your classes because there are always new things to learn. So it's a good standard to set is just to say to yourself, you know what? There's always going to be something new.
You
to
hear
learn.
shop owners say, I can't afford to attend. And in my opinion, you can't afford not to attend, because if your business is growing, it's always changing.
Exactly.
And so every time you come, you're looking for something new and different because you're in a different space in your business.
Yep. You have new customers who are coming in all the time, and you have old customers who need to learn something new.
That's right.
It really, I think to stay a thriving business, you can only go so far, and then you've hit the ceiling, and it's time to plow through that ceiling and keep moving forward. So this is the way to do it. Is by
It
going
really
to
does
Quilt
recharge our
Market.
batteries.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other values too. Of course, there's the obvious, the shopping, that we get to shop. But I was looking over my list of things and I had quite a few great things. And it's a way that we can also do a comparison of products right there face to face with them. Right now, how we find out about products is usually we get an email from a designer or a company saying, hey, here's a new ruler, here's a new pattern, here's something new. And our inbox is full of new. When we're here, we actually get to touch it, learn about it. We look for demonstrations that we're going to turn around at, classes that we're going to offer in our stores, events. We get to talk face to face with designers or special educators that we can bring into our stores.
I want to take a minute now to talk with our sponsor, Miranda from Handmade Rebellion.
Hi, I'm Miranda, and I have Handmade Rebellion. Handmade Rebellion is a t-shirt company. It's modern designs for makers, and they can feel more like a community. It's more subversive designs, and it kind of is for the lady who doesn't mind lipping off a little bit. We offer designs for knitters and crocheters, as well as quilters and sewists alike.
And how did you first get into sort of making subversive t-shirts for crafters?
So I know I wanted kind of an edgier take on, but still be part of this community, and kind of be able to pick somebody out of the crowd and know that they are part of my tribe. Was kind of how it all started.
Right. Okay, cool. And so tell us like some of the most popular, designs. You can just maybe just describe what this shirt says or what it looks like.
One of my personal favorites, and it seems to be everybody else's too, is the handmade knuckles tattoos. And basically it's just got a smattering of different tools that you would use in pretty much any craft. And it's got handmade tattooed on their knuckles. It's little fists.
Yes. And does it come in pink? I think it does.
It does.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I bought one from you for my daughter, and I think you had a table at QuiltCon.
Yes.
And so I bought one for you for my daughter at QuiltCon, my oldest daughter, who's 13 and is super subversive and also super into handmade. And she loves it. She wore it to school this week, actually.
Oh, cool.
Yes. Yeah. And I agree with you that it's sort of like you can, pick someone out from the crowd if they're wearing something like this.
So handmaderebellion.com is my main website, and I'll be at QuiltCon again next year. So there's free shipping over $35 on all domestic orders, as well as a discount code for 15% using the code While She Naps.
Thank you so much, Miranda. And now back to my conversation at Quilt Market.
Well, it's important to be able to say in my store, because education is huge. That's to me. And even with the basics, it's important to be able to say, well, at market, I stood in front of whomever, and I asked them that same question, and this is what they told me. And so I have authority because I've spoken to the designer, I've talked to the manufacturers, I've asked them those questions. I always say, if you're a quilt shop owner and you're thinking about changing thread brands, go to market, but go to every sewing machine manufacturer and ask them what brand of thread you should use in their machines. You don't necessarily have to talk to the person who makes that thing. you've got the whole marketplace here.
Market full of experts.
Yes, to be able
yeah.
to pick the brains of.
You know, if we hope that our customers will come in because we offer that touch and feel experience and that education, then I would hope that we're the customers of our vendors, we would do the same thing. We would come to market and to touch, to feel, to experience, to learn, same concept, same idea.
And has consumer awareness of Quilt Market increased over time? So my feeling is that, from my perspective, because you can now sort of watch market unfold online, maybe 5-8 years ago that wasn't the case, and so now as a consumer, I can see everything happening, and I just wonder has that changed how people talk to you about
I think our customers are excited to know that we're going to market too. And I think it makes a difference in our store when we think about competitors who don't go to market. Our customers are pretty savvy about that too.
Absolutely.
So they're seeing that you go.
Yeah, well, they're following on social media, you know, not only designers, vendors, but you know, shop owners are posting pictures from Quilt Market. So now they have come to expect that, you know, okay, my quilt shop owner is there as well. I can't wait to hear what he or she has to say when they come back.
Yeah, I think that's been a shift. So, so they changed the credentials here at Quilt Market a couple of years ago, making it sort of somewhat more difficult, I guess, to come to the show if you weren't officially in the trade, let's say, or by their definition. So did that make it palpably easier to do business, or not? Or did you feel any effect of that change when, you know, Karen, you've been to so many quilt markets, just how it changed when that happened?
To do business, I don't think. There's definitely a different feel on the floor. You have that little excited frenzy feel when the aisles are more crowded. And so I think a lot of us miss that because it's an energy to it. But I think it's a good thing.
It's a good thing because you're not shopping alongside your customer.
And especially for you too, because Quilt Market's been in Pittsburgh and Quilt Market's been in Salt Lake City. So you guys have basically had Quilt Market in your hometowns.
Sure.
And
Yes.
I haven't, but I understand the challenges of that.
Yeah. So I appreciate the new credentials, that you have to be here, you have to be somebody that is that. But even when there were more people here, I was able to get done what I needed to get done. That was never a problem. Yeah. But it does make the atmosphere changed. So now the shopping experience is different.
Because there's just less bodies who are less
in the aisle,
enthusiastic, or just there's less of that, and so therefore it feels a little quieter, and that can be a little
professional.
It can be more professional, but it can also maybe be a little more demoralizing. It kind of, or something like that. Both ways.
Well, in a sense, it could make people believe that Quilt Market or, you know, the quilt industry is dying, or you know, something like that. But that's not the case.
True at all.
No.
Okay. Is there anything that Quilts Inc. could do to make this show even more worth your while?
They've done some new things this year.
They have Demo Alley where they have people demonstrating.
Well, we'll find out about that. That's
tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're recording this on Friday, so it hasn't started. And they have a new sort of networking social event called Wind Down on Sunday evening. But was there anything else that you can think of that could take place here that doesn't now, that would make this even better, even for you or for other shop owners that you know about?
For me, I think it's not necessarily with quilts, the show itself, but with our vendors. I would love it if they would add more show specials or incentives to get shop owners here, because I know that I could go back and I would see all of my reps come and see me. I could order the very same things and not even have to attend market. And perhaps maybe our numbers would be up higher at Quilt Market attendees if there were some special incentives from our vendors for those who attend the show.
Right. I've been kind of preaching that for quite a few years, because if I pay my nickel to get here, why I should be entitled to something that I can't get. The only reason I can get it is because I'm here. So like my reps, when I've questioned fabric companies, they've said, well, you know, so-and-so couldn't attend because they had a wedding or because they had a this or they had a that. Well, I hope they had a lovely time, but they didn't put out $2,000 to come to the booth. And I don't think, since they've changed the credentials, the people I've talked to in the industry said their sales haven't really changed at Market, although there is sort of a, well, I'm going to go see what everything is, and then I'll order it at home now, because there isn't an incentive to order it here.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true of me. I do the same thing.
There's not an incentive,
Yeah.
and there's not an incentive to stand in line for sample spree, trample spree, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And then the company is just, 2 weeks later, they put it online that you can get the same stuff. I just think there should be some extra incentives to reward, people who make the effort to come.
Mm-hmm. Should you go to Sample Spree?
Absolutely. Yes, I do.
I always find it interesting if you search around on Instagram right after Sample Spree, people put everything they bought for sale on Instagram. You just comment and boom, PayPal invoice, and they'll just ship it right to you from the show, which is a phenomenon in and of itself.
Yes,
so let's talk now about Craftsy. So Craftsy, we all are familiar with Craftsy, I think, if you're listening to this podcast. So Craftsy sells fabric from a lot of different manufacturers, not all of them, but many. And now they have their own lines of fabric and yarn as well that they're manufacturing themselves. Boundless is one of their brands. And Craftsy has courses, online courses, which everyone is familiar with all of these great quilting teachers. So talk about your perspective on Craftsy. Is Craftsy helping your business? Is Craftsy hurting your business or having no effect on your business? And has your feeling toward Craftsy shifted over the years?
Well, maybe my head's in the sand, and maybe I'm just doing a good job staying in my own lane. But my classes are really full. We're doing really, really well. And again, I think I go back to I've hired great teachers who are a lot of fun. Karen's focused on the education, and I'm focusing on the fun in my store. And I think that's what our customers are looking for too. So I have to believe that my customers, yes, I hear them talk about it, that they are also taking Craftsy classes. But wow, they're way more fun at Calico Gals. So that's what I'm doing. I'm focusing on what I can do better, and that's how I compete with them. I believe that they are. How it's totally affected my bottom line, I honestly can't say. I don't know if you guys have a better thought on that. I do hear other shop owners say, "Oh, I can't get people in my classes because everybody's taking them on Craftsy," and I'm thinking, I'm not having that issue.
I'm not having that issue
I
either.
don't think so either. I think there's room for it all, and actually, despite what some may think out there that Craftsy has, not been a good thing for the industry because they're offering classes online, so no one's coming into the stores to take classes. I don't agree with that, because I think perhaps it's been a good thing for our industry because it's gotten more attention to the world of quilting that may have not otherwise been there. So when you think about it that way, you look at it with a different perspective, you look at the big picture. The big picture tells me that the more classes that are out there online, the better it is for my shop, because it educates everyone and it gets to a consumer that might not have otherwise come into a quilt shop. So, when you look at it that way, you have to say perhaps it has helped raise the industry because it's out there more.
I think our customer base has, on a specific level, there are people, we deal with people who want to be creative. Some people just need a creative fix, and Craftsy markets that for them. Some people have small children and they can't get out, and to the cost of the class plus a babysitter, Craftsy meets a need. But there's also a social aspect to ours, and we're on the end of the spectrum that meets that need. My customers that have been taking classes from me and have been in our club programs, they become friends. Yes. They become lunch buddies. It's a totally different thing that Craftsy can't provide.
That's
ever.
Right.
Will not ever be able to reach that. So we meet different needs at different times of people's lives. So I don't think that they hurt my business in the same way. I do appreciate the fact that some of the fabric manufacturers have backed away from them because of the deep discounting that went on. And from what I understand, the reason that some of them have backed away is because now they have their own lines. They see them as competition, not as source. So I respect those vendors for making that decision, and I appreciate that. But I wouldn't force them to do it because, once again,
Everyone has to
everybody
figure it
has
out
to
their
run their
way.
business the way they see fit.
And I know for me, if I were to take a class on Craftsy with a national instructor, and then that national instructor, which I realize is quite expensive to bring an instructor like that into your shop, it's a big investment. But if that person were to come to my local shop, I wouldn't be less inclined to take a class with them. I would be more inclined to take a class with them, because I would come in and say, I took your class on Craftsy and now I get to be with you in person. So I actually think it works that way instead.
Right. I think that's a good point,
Yeah.
because you might not even know who that person was if you hadn't seen them on Craftsy.
Yeah, and now to have the opportunity to have them look at my project while I'm working and help me pick my colors, there's
Right.
nothing better, right? They become like
Right.
a celebrity versus,
Right.
absolutely. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about e-commerce. So rapid fire, Janet, does your shop have e-commerce?
Yes, we do have an online shopping cart. It is very limited. It's not the major focus of my business, but we do have that. A lot of it is convenience for our customer. And we do have some online shopping events that are very popular that we do through our store.
Like what?
Like in the Christmas time, we do what we call Bag Your Booty. A lot of stores do something different than that, but it's a 1 week shopping spree with special deals all week long. Extremely popular in our store. Right now, we're doing one of the row by row events called Woolly Block Adventure, and those are all, we're selling wool blocks to consumers around the world, basically, and that's really popular. That
And
goes
those are
on for-
online? Online.
Yep, that's online. It's online and in store, but right now the online piece of that is really good.
Okay. What about you, Kris?
Yeah, we sure do. I think it's important that you do both. We don't have everything online. It would be nearly impossible for us to do that at this time. With the infrastructure we have is just not all there. But what I have found is that online has been a beautiful venue for us to showcase our classes and our events, that people sign up, at midnight to be able to sign up for those things. They don't have to wait to come in the store to do that. So we do a lot of online signups that way. As far as product goes, I have found that we don't sell a lot of fabric just because I can't afford to discount like what you find out there for fabric on Etsy shops or elsewhere. But what we do well with is kits, because kits is what can differentiate our shop from other online shops. So if you can focus on those things that are differentiators, that you don't have to do the deep discounts, then that is where it's at for us.
On the differentiation, my website consists primarily of all things that I've designed. So it's a limited selection of stuff, and they expect to see what I've done. So I don't put all my fabric online. I don't put that. It's a convenience, more of a convenience website. I'm not going after internet sales in the same way. But like what Kris does to be able to sign up online, we do more than our website. We do a lot more Facebook. My customers are more Facebook oriented, social media kind of oriented, rather than to go onto the website and do something. They'll come into the store rather than do that. So we do that. But one thing that Kris didn't mention is Kris has an app for her store that I love. I lust after Kris's app for her store.
What does your app do?
Well, you can find out what classes are coming up and be able to pull up what materials you need for it. But it also has a quilt calculator on it, which is a big deal for us because we wanted to add value instead of just having it be a place to shop, that people could use it as a quilt calculator. So you can find out stuff like that. What else do I have on there? I don't know.
There's a puzzle.
There's a puzzle.
There's a
yeah.
puzzle.
So at 2 in the morning when you're having a
So it's
sleepless
information
night.
and it is fun.
And fun.
Information and fun. Yes, absolutely. Yep.
So Cloud9 made an announcement at this Quilt Market that they're expanding. I don't know if you saw this yet, from they do organic fabric, but now they are adding yarn. So they have Cloud9 Fibers, which is going to be a yarn line as well. And, there's the quilt shop that's closest to me is Gather Here in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and they're both a quilt shop and a yarn shop. So is adding yarn, I think of Fancy Tiger as well in Denver, they're a quilt shop and a yarn shop. What about adding yarn? Is that a good thing, a bad thing, your thing, not your thing?
It's a different thing. Let me put it that way. We also, the three of us also sell sewing machines in our stores, and that's a different thing too. I think it's important that quilt shops diversify. I really do feel that. I think it's very difficult for a quilt shop to make a good living just selling fabric.
Right.
It's difficult. There's some that do it and they do a great job at it, but part of a success of my store has been that I have been able to diversify. And there's only so many ways you can spread your fingers. And you have to decide what you're good at. I mentioned passionate employees and what you have in talent too, that is going to sell it. So maybe someday I might carry yarn. If I had some employees who were really good at it and really excited, they would get our customers excited about it, and I would
You couldn't just have it. And
you can't just have it.
You can't just
You can't
choose
just
to
have
pull it in the
anything.
line.
You have to have that.
You are
excitement.
starting a second business, or in our case, a
Yes, or
third business, because we already
or
have
fourth.
machines. So we're already running two.
You know, as far as like the fiber arts go, I think it's definitely a growing side of the industry. But for our shop, we just haven't had customers ask about the yarn. But we have customers who love wool. So wool is an area that our shop has really expanded in greatly. More than yarn. But if we had customers who were really looking for it and wanting that, it's something I would definitely consider. But I'd have to wait. I'd have to really take a good look at that, because you're taking up, yarn doesn't take up a lot of space, but if you're going to be a yarn shop, be a yarn shop, do it well.
Right.
Do it well,
I don't think you can just dabble in yarn.
No, you've got to.
But I am interested in the Cloud 9. I do want to go by their booth and see what it's about.
Yeah, well, I saw it on Instagram, so there you go.
Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about selling machines, because that's actually not something I know much about at all. So talk about maybe the risks, the benefits, sort of what it is, what it is to sell sewing machines as well as
the
fabric.
big benefit is it's a higher ticket item.
Yes.
So when you sell one sewing machine, that's a lot of fat quarters.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Right. I always think about it as you have your teaspoons, you have your measuring cups, and you have your buckets, right? So you need some buckets.
We do need some buckets, but it's also the product that feeds the other products.
Yes.
So if someone owns a sewing machine and they've invested in a nice sewing machine, they're probably going to be investing in the classes. They're going to be buying more fabrics and threads and patterns and getting more involved. So it feeds the others too. So there's a couple benefits of sewing machines. Of course, we all know there's some big drawbacks to just adding machines, and a lot of that has to do with the staffing and the inventory. It costs money to buy these machines. And
And the business model. Many of us are independent shop owners because we think like independent shop owners.
I know where she's going.
What does that mean, Karen?
So we're independent people, and we like doing things our own way, and we know what's best for our store. And then you link yourself to a company who has a set of rules and regulations and wants things done a specific way. They have quotas, they have map pricing, they have whatever words you can't say. I'm the brand that I'm with, I cannot say I have the lowest prices in town. You can't, there's certain things, there's major restrictions. So it's running a totally separate business from what my quilt business is. So you have to think differently about it. And then when you can sell somebody a pattern and a yard of fabric, and they can go home and make their own project. When you sell a sewing machine, there's support that has to go with it. Absolutely. And then not only is there support, but now there's technology support that has to go with it. And so it's a much deeper sale.
And continued education. We all have to travel every year and go to classes and educate our staff and send them to classes. Every new little piece of technology, you have to send somebody and get them.
It's a big investment.
It is.
Money-wise, but also just time-wise and floor space.
Real estate.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Repairs.
But
you don't have to, I don't ever have to repair anyone's table runner.
That's right.
But,
do you offer machine repair in your shop?
Yeah. Full-time tech.
Yeah, you have to have a full-time tech to do that.
Yep.
But it's a very good business.
Yes.
It really is. It's a wonderful business.
It's just different. And that goes back to bringing in yarn. Just because you brought in yarn doesn't mean you're going to be a great yarn shop. You need to have that staffed people that understand the language and can speak to the customers and know how to create the samples. So it's whole another business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it's worthwhile for a quilt shop who right now doesn't do it to think about doing it.
Absolutely.
I think it would be easier to bring in yarn than machines.
Yes, it would.
I do too. But if you were
looking
committed
to diversify,
however, but if you were committed, it's easier to make money selling machines than it is
Yes,
selling.
true.
Yes.
True.
Right, because it's a bigger ticket item.
Right.
But it takes a large commitment, floor space, as you said, real estate.
And several
financial
of us,
commitment,
several,
staffing.
like I work with two machine companies because I have a long arm company and a regular machine company. So that's really two separate bosses I have in addition to.
Right. And for those of us, as you were saying, who like to be our own boss, that can be a little chafing against other
Exactly.
people's roles.
Challenges.
Exactly.
Right. No, I understand that. So let's just talk about sort of the future of fabric. I don't think this is going to happen. And from the fabric companies that I've talked to, they'll say, we've discussed it, but we're not going to do it. That's kind of the word on the street around fabric companies selling direct to consumer. So now, fabric companies have that brand recognition, right? From a consumer, I think there was a time when you would walk into a quilt shop and it would be just fabric. But now Tula pink fabric. Do you see what I'm saying? You have a very strong identification with the designer and with a brand of fabric. Sure. And so with that and the ability to cut pre-cuts and things like that, there's some potential possible threat of a fabric company saying, well, we'll just sell directly to them because they know who we are. They'll come to our site. We have 100,000 people on Instagram following us. It would take 2 seconds and then it's, you're in business.
They would lose the 3,500 quilt shops that sell their brand.
And so they'll say
it may be worth it to them. It may be worth it to them or it may not.
I think it would be crazy for them to do that. You are completely breaking up the chain, the healthy chain. And in order to have a healthy industry, there's a chain there. And the quilt shop is part of that.
And it's naive to think that it would take 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Retail is totally different.
Yes.
And I mean, they'd have to deal with sales tax and returns and shipping. And,
I think that it could happen and the company could be successful, but they would have to throw a lot of money into that pot to make it good, to have that whole vertical chain where they would be covering that retail piece and the manufacturing.
Yeah.
And I really feel that they probably have to go brick and mortar, that they couldn't just do it online. There are some that already do that, some smaller ones, but if it was one of our big major companies and decided to go directly to consumers, they're going to have to also support a brick and mortar store, maybe of their own. And
like a single flagship store, like a New York City store, or
I don't know. It's interesting concepts, or maybe smaller stores spread out, a chain.
I think it's almost.
I can't see it being real feasible.
I prefer that you not give them any good ideas.
She's got too smart of a business brain. She starts thinking, how can I make this work?
We'll talk.
That's nonsense. No, that's almost a desperate move, I think.
You think so?
Yes.
It may be our future.
No,
okay, it's a long ways away.
Yeah.
Karen, relax. It's okay.
I don't think it is.
I don't think
because
they
I don't either.
I don't think it is
the very
either.
first
I don't
thing you
either.
said is true. I mean, they would lose every quilt shop they currently have.
Yes.
But if they had a way to replace that,
But then
they'd
most
have
of-
to replace it with some brick and mortar.
But then
in some way.
most of our major companies also have sales reps that are on, so they would have to dissolve that entire.
Right.
That could be a good thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I like that.
No, I agree. I'm not talking about it could be good for us. It would be good for them. I'm
Oh, it
looking
could
from
be.
the eyes
In
of
other
the
words, for them, they
manufacturer.
would cut costs because they would cut out all of
Okay,
these
so
middlemen.
it's a totally different model. It's
Once
not-
again, Janet.
Control yourself. All right, what about
fantasy.
digital? So, we're seeing more digital fabric printing. We've seen spoon flower for a long time. And what happens when the technology gets to the point that it's cheap enough and efficient enough to print small batches digitally domestically? So I'm thinking about Hawthorne Threads, which is an online shop, right? So they have invested in digital fabric printing and they have exclusive digitally printed fabric lines that their shop creates and sells. So is that in some way part of the future? Or,
Yes, I think we're on the brink of it.
Okay. In what way?
I think we're going to see more and more companies going digital. I mean, they're all adding digital to their lines now.
Right.
But their commitment to 3,000 yards and multiple colors and things like that, the investment in the technology would probably outweigh in many, that's where they're floating that if we just made this investment, would it be easier for us to not have to make those other investments? And it would be, they'd have more control in-house, and they'd be able to do more custom work.
Yeah, I mean, you would be able to get some great, beautiful colors and patterns, and
the quality is really cool.
And if you could get your costs down, that'd be fantastic. I would love it if manufacturers were able to do that and then pass on that cost break to us, and then therefore we can do. You see the a little bit. Perhaps a rise in the industry as far as younger consumers, because the price of fabric would go down. That's my personal thought.
I'm not sure that the price of fabric is going to go down if they decide to do that.
You mean the digital? You mean the digital fabric?
I think it could, because you can actually lower those costs because you don't have to have as high of minimums.
But I do think you'll be able to see regional fabrics,
right?
Things that that would appeal to people in the Southwest or people in New England or people. And the reason I think that is because we, as a store, I did a fabric line, but the requirement was 3,000 yards.
Exactly.
And we had no problem selling it in our store because it was something that was to our region that was okay. So I think to be able to say, well, they could sit at market with 1,000 different SKUs and say, pick the ones you want.
Right.
So instead of.
And you can print, at Spoonflower, I can print just the fat quarter.
Correct.
Of my design, and that's
correct.
it.
Yes. So they could offer as many lines as they possibly wanted, so you could really customize what was available in your store.
Right. And then the fabric company simply becomes the curator of designs in a way, right? Because really, what is their role at that point? I know it's an interesting thing to think that they're printing and distributing, but as far as right now, let's say I was a fabric designer, I'm dependent on them to print my fabric for me, which is going to be this huge amount, then to bring it over from Asia and cut it up and distribute it to all of these, we bolt it, and so that's gonna, if everybody goes digital, that all of that changes and shifts in some way.
Well, but also the thing about digital, not every place, not every mill is the same. You really have to, that's with anything, but you hope that the digital print would still be a good quality print.
Sure. Yes, and it has to be fast enough.
Yes.
There's still technological challenges there, but it's just a question.
So it would still only be as good as the gray goods that they printed on also. So
exactly.
The digital printing is one thing, but we're still talking about the fabric.
We're still looking at
the substrate.
Fabric. Right. Mm-hmm.
And that's something that the company has as proprietary to them. If it's Kona, it's Kona or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Okay, is there any big topics that we didn't talk about yet that you're dying to talk about, or anything big I missed before we get on to our recommendations? I'm sure there's more out there that, this was just my sort of...
I feel that things change, and yet it's still so positive.
Yeah.
And you feel that when you're here. And I, of course, talk to a lot of different quilt shops, and there's so much positive in this. And I actually feel also that quilting is a huge trend. And I say there's the 1 degree of separation, no matter who you ask in the entire world, everybody knows a quilter. So it's still super popular, and that feels good.
Yeah.
It's really good. Feels optimistic.
I think we have to stay optimistic. We really do.
Yes, we have to, but we can. We can. We've got everything we need
reason
to
to
be.
be.
There's
we have good reason to be. You just have to focus on those good things, because again, if we focus on what the negative is, then it's just gonna, it really brings
We have that choice.
us all down.
Well, there
We have
will
that
always
choice,
be
yeah.
problems. That's why
Yeah.
they call it work.
Really?
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
I think it's very hopeful. The future of the industry is very hopeful.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a good note. Yeah. So I want to make sure we get to our recommendations. So I have just one to focus on from each of you. So Janet, you wanted to recommend the Clips app for iOS.
I absolutely love the Clips app. Have any of you played with it? I know I talk about it. Nobody knows what it is. All right. So Apple came out with it in the spring of this year, and you can actually take short videos and photographs and turn them into fun videos. Some of you saw the theme announcement for a row by row experience. I created that in the Clips app. The entire thing is done on my phone using pictures, graphics, videos, short little clips. You move them all together. There's all kinds of super, super features. It's very easy to use and things come out so professional. Music in the background. You can have voiceover or you can record your voice while you do it. It'll have the words written at the bottom. You can correct them to make sure they're correct. It's just so many cool features. I absolutely love it.
Just
Clips
another
app.
time sucker.
It's yes, but we can use it's a time sucker, yes.
Oh,
but we
man.
can use this one for our business. Okay, so we've got an
I guess
excuse
there's
to
a
play in
reason,
this
yeah.
one, not to mention our grandchildren.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely fabulous for business.
And
It's
once you
super
know
fun.
how to use it, then you all of a
Then you
sudden
know
have all
it.
these ideas. And
Exactly.
can
Have
start
you played
using
with it at all, Abby?
I haven't, but I'm going to
Okay.
go get it because
Okay.
I need to do more video.
Guess what? It's free.
It's free.
Oh, wow. I was going to ask how much it costs. Okay.
Yeah, it's cool.
Very good. Okay, Karen, you wanted to recommend your embroidery machine. So tell us about that.
Well, you actually, I think you asked you didn't say what did I want to recommend.
It's like that is a cop-out.
No.
You can change.
Well, she asked me what I read, and the answer was, a series about a dog named Biscuit because I was with my 6-year-old grandchildren. But
Gotcha.
what I've been appreciating lately in my sewing, because I do a lot of design work, so I do a lot of classes and I design a lot of patterns and things like that. The technology that goes with my sewing machine, I'm loving because I can digitize something quickly and I can stitch out my step-by-steps without having to do it repeatedly. Basically, the machine does it for me. I just have to feed it. Also, opening up my customer's eyes to something that sewing machine is capable of doing. When the last embroidery machine that I sold, we sat down and I did actually a Kimberbell project with her, real quick, in the hoop zipper, bag thing. And she went, I just thought it would monogram. Like the idea that they don't even know what their machine is capable of doing and the small projects and the thing that they can do. And I find my customer base is doing a lot of small project things that they can give away as gifts. That's things they can get done in an evening that they can start. They have that quilt, the bed quilt and the things like that they're working on, but it might take them a year to finish it. But that instant success thing, that embroidery machine and the technology and the software that goes with it, hands down, it gives you that instant success quality.
That's right.
Quality.
Well, machine embroidery is not what it used to be.
No.
You used to think it was a monogram on a towel.
Exactly.
And you can still do that.
Yes.
But there's so much more you can do. So
Okay.
a lot of fun.
And Kris, you were saying that you and a group of friends get together once a month and make 10 freezer meals with a company called Citrus
Doesn't
Pear.
that sound
I love
exciting?
this.
I know. I was like, oh, okay. So it has nothing to do with sewing.
That's
but
okay.
Maybe actually what it does allow me to do is sew more.
That's right.
Because I don't have to get home from work and try and figure out what I'm going to have for dinner. So once a month we get together. There's 10 of us, and we go to a place called Citrus Pear. And they have different places all across everywhere. I don't know.
And they have everything chopped up for you?
Yes, there's everything. It's amazing.
know this.
All I have to do is I put on an apron, look all fancy, and I dump the stuff. They have the ingredients, and in 2 hours, 2 hours, folks, I make 10 meals for my family. They're in Ziploc bags. They're ready to go. They're healthy, and I put them in my freezer. And then I wake up in the morning. I put my thing in the crock pot, and by, dinner time, we've got dinner.
That's great.
It's fabulous.
Yeah.
Wow.
I tell you, it has been life-changing.
My children thought pepperoni was a vegetable. So.
Yeah, that $5 Little Caesars pizza, that comes in handy every now and then too. But I'll tell you, it has changed my life because I've been able to still have nice meals for my family. It looks like I worked really hard, and 2 hours a month.
Great.
That's it.
And you're with friends while you're doing it.
Yeah, that's right. That's fun.
Which is
It's
good.
fun.
Yeah. So, well, Janet, Karen, and Kris, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the While She Naps podcast. I really enjoyed talking to all of you.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And thank you. We actually have 3 people here in our studio audience. So thank you, studio audience, for joining us as well. And thank you to Quilt Inc. and to Bob Ruggiero, who helped to arrange the room and helped to arrange this recording. And you've been listening to the While She Naps podcast. I'm Abby Glassenberg. Visit my blog, whileshenaps.com, where you can sign up for my email newsletter to get the best in sewing, blogging, and small business delivered right to your inbox each week. Today's episode was sponsored by Handmade Rebellion. Handmade Rebellion offers a wide variety of creative t-shirts, hoodies, pins, and other swag for fiber artists of all shapes, ages, and sizes. Let the world know that you are part of the maker movement with style. Remember to use the code WHILESHENAPS on handmaderebellion.com to save 15% off your next order with free domestic shipping over $35. Join the rebellion. Thank you so much, Handmade Rebellion. And if you enjoy the show, tell a friend about it. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.